to name the top habits people struggle with. So, in no particular order, here's the 5 they identified. They had more, but here's the top 5. Smoking, 21% of men, 16% of women in America smoke cigarettes, about 42 million people. They started for different reasons, to handle stress, because their parents smoked, whatever. But being addicted wasn't their plan. Alcohol, millions of Americans drink, but it's estimated that 17.6 million Americans suffer from alcohol abuse or dependence. Several million more engage in risky binge drinking patterns that could lead to alcohol issues. Again, the reasons for starting are different, but they all have this one thing in common. They never start out and said, my goal is to be an alcoholic. It's estimated that 19.5 million Americans, over 8% of the population, use illegal drugs. The drugs are different, the reasons for starting are different, but all drug addicts have one thing in common. They never plan to be an addict. In the last few years, addiction to prescription pain meds has exploded. The numbers are rising so fast, no one is exactly sure how many people are addicted, but the U.S. has the highest rate of painkiller addiction in the world. June 15th, Time Magazine cover story, you probably saw it. The title was "The Price of Relief: Why America Can't Kick Its Painkiller Problem." 12% of websites are pornographic, over 24 million sites. One study found that 70% of men, 30% of women have viewed pornography. A doctor at the University of Montreal was conducting a study, and he said, "We started our research seeking men in their 20s who'd never consumed pornography." They had to abandon that part of the story because he couldn't find any. Over 40 million adults admit to being regular visitors to internet pornography websites. Again, most have one thing in common. They never plan to be hooked. 60% of Americans are overweight. 1/4 of Americans are obese, categorized as at least 20 pounds overweight. What's causing the problem? According to numerous studies, it's simply overeating, consuming more calories than you need on a regular basis. Americans are addicted to food, and lots of it. So right now you're having one of two emotions. If you struggle with one of those issues, you're not very comfortable. You're probably hoping for a video so you can sneak out. If you don't struggle with one of those, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. Now, it's true, those addictions are destructive, but the problem is we've categorized those as bad, and we kind of sweep under the rug other addictive behaviors, problems, habits like worry, fear, anxiety, gambling, sex, spending, out of control credit card debt, hoarding, workaholics. The list goes on and on. There's likely something in your life out of control. It didn't start that way. You didn't plan on losing control, but you have. Here's the progression. Here's how you get there. It starts with a thought. And then that thought leads to or becomes a decision. And somewhere between decision and the next one is where we cross the line. That decision becomes an action. And you act on the thing that started as a thought. Then the action becomes a repeated action. You repeat that action often enough, you've developed a habit, and that habit leads to addiction. It all started with a thought. Now, I know what you're thinking. Addiction's a pretty strong word, but here's the picture. Whatever you're struggling with, you once had control of it. Now it has control of you. And traditionally, the church hasn't dealt with this subject very well. Our answer for many generations was to make rules. If you were going to be a church member, you couldn't drink, smoke, spit, chew, or date those who do. If you were struggling with something, our answer was stop it right now. Sounds great, doesn't it? but just stop doing whatever has you defeated. Go home, throw it away, live in victory. I wish it was that easy, but it's not. You may have an ongoing struggle with a sinful, destructive habit, or your struggle may not be sin. It may be a habit, an addiction, a compulsion, something you can't seem to control. It's something you know you need to stop, but you don't know how. For some of you, the problem is different. There's a hurt in your past that controls you, and you think about it all the time. That painful memory has you trapped. You're desperate to be free. Maybe you're trapped in a relationship or a pattern of relationships that's destructive. Regardless of what has you trapped, you can be free. And today we look at the story of a man who is being controlled by something bigger than himself. In this case, demons. Now he probably didn't start as a raving demon-possessed fool. He probably gave in to friends, or he just wanted to experiment with a little Satanism, or he just wanted to try it out so he could have fun. But it wasn't fun for long. His life was ruined. There appeared to be no answer. The thing he once had now had him. And then one day Jesus came on the scene. And from Jesus' encounter with the man found in Mark 5, we learn principles for finding freedom. This could be one of the most important days of your life. You can also be free. Pick it up in Mark 5. I put verses in your outline. You can follow on the screens. You can follow along in your Bible. If you don't have a Bible, pew rack in front of you. The book of Mark is in the New Testament, which is the second half of the Bible. Matthew, Mark, second book, and we're in chapter 5. And they went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an evil spirit from the tombs came to meet him. This man lived in the tombs. He had no contact with people. It's a dark, dreary, lonely existence. In those days, if you were ashamed of someone, you could send them to the tombs. And once they were there, then you could pretend like they didn't exist. Religious customs wouldn't let you go near the dead, so you ship them off, and they say, man, I'd love to check on him. I'd love to see how he's doing, but I'm not allowed to go there. I care about her, I really, really do, but I can't go there. She's unclean. She's in the tombs. And so this man is tormented, and he's alone. When he first dabbled in the satanic, he never expected that, and that's what happens. Unhealthy habits lead you where you don't want to go. To addiction, to bondage, ultimately death, relational death, spiritual death, even physical death. There's a principle. Unhealthy habits lead to death. Healthy habits lead to life. He's living in the tombs. No one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he'd often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart. He broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. People tried to lock him up. They tried stronger men and stronger chains, only to have no luck. There wasn't an easy answer or a natural answer to his struggle. Now, I've heard this story preached about the chains that bound the man, but the chains didn't bind him. Every time he was chained, he broke free. He wasn't held captive by iron chains. He was held captive by the condition of his soul. It's a powerful principle. Spiritual battles aren't won with natural methods. Inner chains are so much harder to break. This man defeated the outward chains, but he still never found release. He could get away from the physical chains. He couldn't get away from the demons. Sound familiar? You can stop the drugs for a while. You put the credit cards away for a time. You overcome your food addiction for a few days, maybe even a few weeks. But that craving is the inner desire that drives you back. It's not the external things, the stuff that traps you. It's the internal thing, the drive. So is it possible that's a spiritual thing? That you need to fight this battle in a spiritual realm? Now, I want to give you a word of caution. Most of the time, there's both a natural and a spiritual element to your problem. Don't automatically assume that it's a demon that's making you shop. Although I am firmly convinced there is a shopping demon. It's way too convenient to excuse away your laziness by saying, well, I can't help it. The devil made me do it. Do everything you need to do. But don't neglect the spiritual aspect of the battle. Night and day, verse 5 tells us, among the tombs and the hills, he would cry out and he would cut himself with stones. Sending him away didn't work. He just got worse. And then he developed self-destructive habits. See, we have a tendency to think, this isn't good, but I can live with it. I'll be all right for now. I can quit whenever I want. This isn't a good time. That's a dangerous way to think. An addiction doesn't improve on its own. It always gets worse. A bad habit doesn't automatically go away. It grows. It costs you more. It hurts you more. It continues to tighten its grip. With each day of the bondage, the habit becomes harder to break. The story takes a turn in verse 6. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He was looking for an answer. Chains couldn't bind him. People couldn't stop him. But when Jesus came on the scene, everything changed. And suddenly this man, he's not out of control. He's not yelling. He's not cutting himself. He's kneeling at the feet of Jesus. Even this too far gone, out of control man recognized it was his moment. It was his opportunity to finally be free. Some of you have been struggling with a habit or a bondage or an addiction for years. Maybe you've let fear or worry can control you and be the grid by which you live. Listen to me, there's an opportunity for freedom. You've been in this condition way too long. It's your freedom opportunity. Run to Jesus. The man shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Swear to God that you won't torture me." Really says that. Swear to God you won't torture me. People tried many methods to set him free, but every time someone had an idea for change, it just resulted in more pain. So he actually said to Jesus, "Promise you won't torture me." Now, does Jesus torture people? No. That's not in him. He's the Son of God who sets people free. It seems to be an irrational fear. But if you come to God and you ask to be delivered from addictions or habits, you might have the same fear. Even good change can be frightening. I'd like to be free, but God, I'm afraid what you're going to do to me in the process. God, please don't make me change too much. Please don't torture me and make me miserable. But God, I just don't know. And Jesus said to him, "Come out of this man, you evil spirit." Jesus could have said, take him to town, give him a bath, get him a job, clean him up. That would have been great, but that had already been tried. Jesus recognized something else is going on. This wasn't natural. Jesus addressed the evil spirit. Spiritual battles are won with spiritual methods. Maybe you've tried everything you know to do and nothing's worked. You've signed up for every program. You've watched every show. You've read every magazine. You've gone at it so many different ways. It's time to turn to spiritual methods, to fasting and prayer and worship and other people praying for you. If you've been struggling for years and you desire to be free, if you've already tried every option that's out there, it's way past time to give God a try, and not too late to give God a try. Then Jesus asked him, "What's your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied. "We are many." The man didn't answer. The demon inside of him answered. What happened to him is the same thing that happens to you when you don't deal with your problem. For a while, you're bigger than your problem. You can hide it from the people close to you, people who know you well. But as the problem gets bigger, it's more difficult to hide until one day your problem is bigger than you, and your problem becomes your identity. And you're no longer Jack, you're the angry drunk. You're no longer Jennifer, you're the druggie. You're no longer Shelley, you're the girl who always dates a loser. You're no longer Ted, you're the guy who's married to his job. Even when you think of yourself, all you think of is the moment that made you a victim or the habit that has you caught. You've lost who you are. I've got good news for you. Jesus can and will restore your identity.
Amen.
He'll restore you. Satan comes to steal, to kill, to destroy. Jesus comes so you can have life more abundantly. And with God's help, you can have your life back. And it's about to happen for this guy. He's no longer going to be the crazy, demon-possessed wacko who lives in the tombs. His identity was about to be restored. But look what he did. Look at the next verse. Verse 10. And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. So huge. It wasn't the demons begging not to be sent out of the area. It was the man. He actually asked Jesus, begged Jesus, can I keep him around just in case? He wanted to be free, but he wanted to keep his options open. After all, what if he discovered life wasn't as good without the demons? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? You have a credit card problem, so you decide not to use them anymore, but instead of cutting them up, you put them in a drawer. Or you save one for an emergency, like when you want to buy something. You struggle with internet pornography. You're going to give it up, but you keep the internet connection because after all, who can live without the internet? You have a food addiction, but you keep Twinkies in the trunk of your car just in case you get a craving. It doesn't matter if you eat a little bit. You don't want to deprive yourself. After all, sugar is one of the food groups. You keep your options open. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. It's not all God. It's not all you. It's not all natural. It's not all supernatural. You have a part to play in the freedom. You come to Jesus ready to change, but then you have to do your part. It's time to eliminate some options. I tell concerned families who are trying to help their kid, you can't help someone who won't accept help. Forcing someone into treatment won't work. Trying to force change from the outside isn't effective. You're the person with the problem. You have to be ready to change, and you have to be willing to eliminate your options. Until you do, you'll keep the problem. People come to me and say, I want to change. I say, okay, let's start with this. Change your cell phone number. Wait a second. Why would I have to do that? Well, I don't want the people from your old life who want to tempt you to have access to your new life. When they won't change their cell phone number, I know they're not ready to change. They will keep their options open. This guy actually begged Jesus, let's keep the demons around. And so Jesus' response, this is great. This is one of those moments in the New Testament I would love to have been there. A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, send us among the pigs. Let us go into them. So Jesus gave them permission. Kind, gentle Jesus. The evil spirits came out, went in the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. It was a mass pig suicide right there. I mean, don't you love that? He wanted to keep his options open. He wanted to keep the demons around. The demons wanted to stay around. Jesus had another plan. He let the demons go into a herd of pigs, and then the pigs ran off a cliff into the lake and drowned. And I just pictured Jesus trying not to laugh. You want to keep the demons around? Go fishing, dude. Jesus doesn't bring partial freedom. Jesus brings total, complete freedom. If you just want to be kind of free, don't come to Jesus. That's not his deal. For this man, point of no return, his chance for complete freedom. Would he go back to the old habits? Would he live in freedom? Look at verse 14. Kind of got to finish the pig story. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and the countryside. I would think so. I mean, if you're a pig farmer, this is a bad day. And the people went out to see what had happened. The man was set free. So what happened? Everybody came to check it out. It's what's so powerful about Celebrate Recovery. I put information about CR in your bulletin today. Freedom draws a crowd because other people want to be free. And when you find freedom in Jesus, people with the same problem will be drawn to you because they want the freedom you've experienced. And you convince yourself, nobody knows what I feel. Nobody knows what I go through. There's sure not anybody at church that's going through it. There are hundreds of people at church facing what you face. Come to CR. You'll find people that not only are facing it, but are finding freedom from it and want you to be free. Read that. It's in the bulletin. In verse 15, when they came to Jesus, the people who were checking out what happened, they saw the man who'd been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there dressed in his right mind. What you've always been told is wrong. You can judge a book by its cover. Change on the inside results in an outside change obvious to others. This man got his demons out. And now he's dressed. He's sitting there in his right mind. His inward change affected his outward appearance. It's another area where churches have failed. We've been more worried about outward change than inward change. Someone walks in the door dressed or acting differently than we think they should. We want to make them dress right, or look right, or act right, or talk right before they come to church. That doesn't make any sense. A few weeks ago, somebody came to me. There was a lady new to church, said, "Look at what she's wearing. You need to confront her." I didn't say it, but I thought, really? Somebody should confront you about what you're wearing. I mean, come on. Do you know why sinners act like sinners? Because they're sinners. Do you know why sinners talk like sinners? Because they're sinners. They wouldn't be a good sinner if they didn't. They're in need of a heart change. So who gives you a heart change? Jesus. Where's a good place to meet Jesus? Church. Does the outward change happen before or after the inward change? After. So don't stress about appearance. Don't get all angry and judgmental because someone's acting like a sinner and forget that you once were one too. Come on. Don't do that. Trust God that a heart work on the inside does incredible things on the outside. Now here's the part of the story that doesn't make sense. Look at verse 15 again, because I left off the last 4 words. Came to Jesus. They saw the man who'd been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there dressed in his right mind. And this is so bizarre. They were afraid. Now? I mean, wouldn't you be afraid of the crazy man cutting himself with stones, screaming and out of control? And now he's sitting there dressed in his right mind. Now they're afraid? Why? Because these people hadn't heard about Jesus. It was spooky to them. It's the same reason people are afraid when they first come to a spirit-filled church. They're afraid what you're going to do. This is the reason people are afraid when they first hear someone pray in tongues. It's the reason people get nervous when we put our hands on someone's shoulder or on their forehead and start to pray for them. This is the reason why people get nervous when we raise our hands in worship. They fear what they don't understand. Then and now, the supernatural divides. When you encounter something you don't understand, you have to make a decision. You've got to decide, is this real? Is this from God? Can I experience this? In this case, can I have this freedom too? And so sad. This is a tragic part of the story. Look at verse 16. Those who'd seen it told the people what happened to the demon-possessed man, told about the pigs as well, of course, because it's pretty epic. But look at verse 17. So unexpected. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave. To leave their region. What an odd reaction. After the man was set free, people wanted Jesus to leave. You know what should have happened? That verse should say, and then everybody who had something in their life that they couldn't control lined up in front of Jesus and said, me next. Jesus, pray for me. But instead, they wanted him to leave. And I wonder what would have happened to that community if they'd asked Jesus to stay. We don't have to wonder, because the answer is clear. Jesus got back on the boat, and they went to the other side of the lake, and when and where they landed is where the greatest season of healing in Jesus' ministry took place. Jesus' healing ministry began, but in another place. Blind eyes were opened, crippled people got up and walked, the dead were raised, lepers were healed. It's remarkable, and it all could have happened there. The people in that community could have found freedom, but they missed their chance. Jesus' nature is to deliver and heal. That's what he does. Your part is you get to decide whether you want the freedom or whether you say, Jesus, this part of my life is off limits to you. Nope, Jesus, I want you to leave. I don't want you to be a part of that. That habit, I want you out of that. I don't want you there. You get to decide if you want freedom or if you want Jesus to leave. Do you want freedom, healing, deliverance? In just a few moments, we're going to pray for people who need it. Don't miss your chance. Take advantage of your freedom opportunity because Jesus is here. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who'd been demon-possessed begged to go with him, of course. Jesus didn't let him go, but he said, go home to your family. Guy had been living in the tombs for years. Go home to your family. Tell them what the Lord has done for you and the mercy he's had on you. The man went away and began to tell, and all the people were amazed. Jesus said, go tell. Tell your family what the Lord has done. Share the news. The supernatural is for a purpose. Your freedom and your deliverance is not just for you to feel good, it's for you to share. It's not just for you to be free yourself, it's for you to point other people to freedom. After you find freedom, share your stories with others who need the same freedom. Don't hide your miracle. How long have you struggled with that one area? I know you say you could stop if you want to. Even you don't believe that. Or you already would have. The thing you once had now has you. It's become a controlling influence in your life. That fear is out of control. It dominates your thinking. It dominates your life. That worry is affecting your relationship with your family, even your relationship with God. That habit has cost you money. It's cost you friends. It's cost you time. For some of you, that habit has destroyed your marriage or multiple marriages. That family has destroyed. That habit has destroyed your family. That habit has destroyed your relationship with your children. That habit has cost you your job, cost you your dream. That addiction is destroying your life. One question, do you want to be free? Do you want to be free? Would you bow your heads? And that is my one question. Do you want to be free? And if, I was talking today, you feel God knocking at the door of your heart and you're nervous about it and you don't know what's next, but you know You need to do just like that demon-possessed man. You need to run to Jesus and you need to seize your opportunity for freedom. You say, Pastor Rod, I've got something I need to be free. I want you to stand up right now. I'm not going to wait around. I'm not going to beg people because, like I said just a few moments ago, that's up to you if you want to be free or not. I can't make you want to be free. That's your deal, not mine. All right? If you're standing, I want you to come stand across the front. If you're in the balcony, I'll wait for you. Come on, don't let 25 steps stop you from freedom. Let's go. And I want you to just spread out across the front. For a couple of people from the balcony. I'm patient. Here's what we're going to pray, and what I think is going to happen. We're going to pray that God will set you free. But I want you to understand, you have a part of it. There's a supernatural and a natural. We're going to pray that those things that have you bound, the inner chains, are broken. But then you'll still have a part of it. For some of you, it's getting rid of internet access. For some of you, it's changing friends. So you're not hanging around the people who are going to take you to the bar. For some of you, you're going to go home and throw some stuff away. For some of you, you have to change some thoughts because the thought leads to happen. So you're going to have a part too. Now, can God do it instantly? Absolutely He can. But most of the time, you get to play a part in that. You get to play a part in your freedom. We're going to pray. We've left a lot of time so we can, because I want to take time with you. I want to ask everyone else to stand. And I love the fact that God can do different things different ways. So we're going to pray a little different today. I've invited a bunch of my friends from Celebrate Recovery to come pray. So I want you guys to go ahead and come on. Because I want people who've experienced freedom to pray for you to be free. And they're going to ask you, what can I pray with you about? You tell them, we're just going to start praying. And hey, they may be a little bold, and they might be a little in your face with praying. That's okay. That's going to be good. And our pastors are coming. Our prayer pastors are coming. We're going to pray and believe with you that you'll be free. Now, if there's somebody down here that you want to pray with, come on. Stand behind them. Stand around them. Pray with them. Let's believe for freedom, because that's what Jesus does. He sets you free. Come on, let's pray.